Hi, I'm Innova Team Captain Nate Sexton here in sunny and windy Las Vegas, and this is my 2024 In The Bag. All right, so let's get started with the putters right here in the top pocket. This is my 2024 signature color of the Pound Octothorpe with the little Nate Sexton patches on the side. Obviously, my main putting putter, the Nate Sexton Nexus Firefly, one of my tour series from the last couple of years. Nice and stiff, glow plastic. What I really like about it is it has a little bit of that rubbery tackiness, the Nexus plastic, but without quite as much flex as R Pro. So I feel like I can still dig my thumb into it, get good spin, but even on a warm day, rigid enough to get a nice clean putt off of my hand. So they're kind of deep in the hand, a deep feel. And I use these pretty much only for putting. I don't really throw these at all. So like 60 feet maximum distance for these for me. My next putters are the darts. I have this R Pro that's a little flippier and XT for a little more stability. I use these for long putts, but also for short drives. So I'm throwing this guy on a hole this week that's measuring at 315. So I use these interchangeably with mid-ranges. So I'll use this for nice straight drives. I'll use this one for putts between about 50 and 100 feet. If it's really uphill or low ceiling, I might go to this over the Firefly for a little more push, a little bit more glide, if I need to keep some elevation late in the flight of a putt. But yes, darts, one of my favorites for many, many years. From the very first time I got sent a tester, they've been in my bag. Okay, now we can get into mid-ranges. I only have one real classic mid-range. It's a KC Pro Glow Rock at the moment. That's what I use here in Las Vegas. Again, a windy place, so I'm not bringing the Mako 3. That's staying at home. That is a disc that is sometimes in my bag if I'm playing a more wooded course. But out here, all I need is this rock, 177 gram, brand new KC Pro rock with a little bit of stability. So I can put it up there, guarantee a little bit of hyzer, a nice slow stop on the ground without a lot of skip. For forehand mid-range duties, we've got the unbeatable team of the Toro and the Rat. I use both of these for forehands probably between 150 feet and 250 feet or so. The Toro way more overstable, Calvin Heimberg disc, and the Rat straighter. So I would say I probably throw the Rat a little bit more, but when the wind is up or I need extra fade, definitely go to the Toro. The Toro I'll also throw backhand. The Rat is pretty much a forehand only disc for me. The Toro I will use certainly for backhands, and there's actually a few holes at this event where I'm going to be throwing it backhand because it needs to get out and then really get left in a hurry to stay away from out of bounds, but I don't want a lot of distance. And the great thing about this is it doesn't glide a lot, gets to the ground quick, great for control. Fairway drivers, or slower speed drivers, the Sidewinder, speed 9, my roller disc, my turnover disc, my kind of get out of jail forehand disc in the woods when I need something to get out and flip and twist and ride to the left. So Star Sidewinder is one I've been using for a long time. Halo Savant is sort of a new addition to my bag. I like this one. I call this one Pink Lemonade. It's pretty straight, kind of like a beat up Thunderbird. So I kind of use it in that slot. It's sort of where I would throw, I maybe used to throw maybe an old Thunderbird. Goes basically straight for me at full power, maybe just a little bit of flip, but by the time it slows down, usually has a bit of fade left in it. So nice for me for 400 feet or so when there's some constraints of my lateral movement. I kind of have to throw a straight shot. I can't work a big hyzer or a forehand flex or anything. I need it to just kind of go flat and finish pretty softly. A little bit flippier than that is the Champion TL3. So I'll use this one if I don't want that left finish at the end or if I want pure turnover. All of these I also will use for rollers in different situations depending on how much stability I need. But this Champion TL3 is really nice. It's great because if you throw it with power, you basically can trust, for me anyway, that there's not really going to be any left action on the end of the flight. It's going to fly out there straight, just a slight turn, and then the finish is so mellow that it won't really skip back left. So I don't have to worry about an OB line on that side with the backhand. I mentioned it briefly, but that Jeremy Colling Thunderbird, brand new. That's always a disc I have in my bag as well. A little bit more stable than the TL3 and the Savant. Use this for big hyzers, flat kind of to finish shots. Also in that kind of 400 range, just barely slower than the distance drivers. So I'll use this thing in those situations. I also really like these for like a max power cut roller. So this is probably one of my favorite discs when I'm out on a ball golf course like this and I have the super short grass. If I do get that moment where the wind is down, this is the disc that I can get out there 600 feet. If I can put it down there on a nice cut roller in the dry grass, one of my longest moving discs if I am able to go to that roller angle. I think for a beginner or intermediate player, Thunderbird's going to be one of your more overstable discs. You know, that for somebody who's throwing 300 or less, this is going to be kind of a meat hook, and that's all right. Something you're going to be able to throw out forehand or backhand, count on a pretty quick fade and a nice skip, but in a rim width that's pretty comfortable in the hand, and at speed 10, something that's not going to necessarily rocket skip off the green. It's going to be a little more measured than, say, a destroyer. All right, now for that special time, the fairway driver that rules them all, the Sexton Firebird. I carry 4, all different levels of beat up. Obviously, my favorite disc that's ever been made. Ought to be, right, if it has my name on it. So this is my flippiest one at the moment, 2015, with some nice battle scars on it. So this one goes basically straight with a little bit of fade at the end. Use that a lot for tailwinds out here or woods kind of shots where I don't want a bunch of swing. Probably the next one in the lineup is this little bit newer 2015. This one's got certainly some stability left to it, but one of my favorite molds that's ever been made. So always have at least a couple of these in my bag. Then I have this double stamped 2019. This one flies a lot like the 15s, but I'm more willing to throw it around water. So I bring this one in case there's going to be like a real rocky landing, or I might be throwing it in the lake. This guy's kind of my workhorse, and I've been saying that about him for years, and he hasn't given up on me yet. So he stays dry, even though he's kind of takes on some of the more risky shots. He's a brave guy. And then this 2023, the Halo, the most overstable for me. So I'll use this one more for backhands. The others basically never for backhand. This one I will backhand, or a forehand flex where I really need it to bail out of that angle quick and get back to the right. So this is my headwind disc, and probably one of my most stable drivers, certainly my most stable fairway driver. I think the Firebird is such a great disc to have in your bag at any skill level because it is so trustworthy, and it can teach you some new shot shapes, what you can do with an extreme release angle and how you can work that through the flight and flatten back out. You can get around a tree perhaps midway down the fairway, but still work back so hard to the left. I find that to be a really fun shot to throw, especially with the forehand. Kind of one of those things that makes disc golf so special, I think, is that we have that S pattern, and it's something that a ball could never do. And when you have that overstable disc, you can really show that off and make it happen in a really tight window where you can get a bunch of swing back even under 300 feet and really make this sharp S shape. So I think that's a fun shot to be able to throw. Obviously, you're going to play in some windy conditions. You need a trusty disc you can use there. The Sexton Firebird specifically, nice and soft, I think. So a more forgiving hand feel and a more forgiving flight as well. So it's overstable, but maybe not ridiculously so, like maybe some other fairway drivers you might find. On to the distance drivers. On the forehand side, one of my favorites is the Excalibur. I have a Halo Excalibur here that I've been throwing that's kind of a little bit straighter. And it's still certainly stable, but a nice all-around forehand distance driver. I'll use this on hyzer angle, flat, and occasionally even on a force-over when I need 350 plus, 350 to 400 of forehand. This is kind of where this disc comes in, and I can usually count on that for about a mid 375-ish or so on a flat to hyzer with a lot of control. So I really like these. This is a first run Star X-Cal that in Austin, Texas this year, a fan came up and had me sign an autograph, and then out of his bag he said, "Hey, I brought these for you. 2 brand new first run X-Cal." So that went straight in the bag, whoever you are. Thank you for that gift. And I'm not going to let it just sit on a shelf. If you give that to me, that's going in the bag, and we're throwing this thing. So really nice disc. The very first X-Cal ever made. This Eco Star plastic, the kind of the X-Cal that I fell in love with at the very beginning. So got one of those. Happy to have it. Thank you. I would say the X-Cal for a beginning player is a lot of disc. Not necessarily a bad choice, but something that is going to be great for your predominantly forehand players, players with a lot of power, because even some new players have quite a lot of power. So if you're getting it out there over 300 feet, or your swing speeds getting up there into the high 50 mile an hour, if you're lucky enough to have ever had a speed gun or used a tech disc or something, then maybe you're going to be in a place where this disc is going to start making sense for you. It's very torque resistant, very overstable. So much control is offered to you through those things, but you sacrifice a little bit of distance. But I'm making that deal every time. I'm definitely a proponent for control, staying in bounds on these modern courses, more important than ever. So the X-Cal is great at doing that. You know what you're going to get: strong fade, strong skip every time you throw it. On to the destroyers. You got to get to the destroyers when you're watching a Innova Pros in the bag. I have technically 7, because this mean guy I keep on the side in case we run into a really serious headwind. So this, I'll start here. This is the most overstable. This is a couple years ago, Calvin Halo Destroyer, right at the beginning of Halo. These teal ones are kind of more disc than I can use on a regular basis. But when there's a strong headwind, really nice to have the security blanket of this thing. I don't think I can flip it over. I hope I can't. I have a newer Calvin that's much more mellow, still overstable, but not crazy. This is like maximum distance hyzer type disc for me. It doesn't really turn much, but I can count on it to flatten up and ride for a while before it's fade. These, I think I have the okay to share these. These are brand new from Innova. This is the Innova Mouse. So this is a pretty rare one, brand new mold. Might say Destroyer on the bottom, but on the top it says Mouse. So we throw the Innova Mouse. This one's probably my main distance one at the moment. Nice beat up bottom stamp, and it's not super beat up. It's not really turnover disc, but I can put a tiny bit of anhyzer on it, get a bunch of distance, or just throw it flat and get 450-ish. Even 500 yesterday one time. And then this one, brand new off the presses. This is the Innova Ladybug. This one is very similar to the Mouse, actually. I don't know why they made 2 different ones. They're almost exactly the same. They have the Destroyer on the bottom. They're both purple. But the Ladybug is newer, more overstable, and it's a nice backup. I probably won't throw it that much this week, but unless I lose something in the water, then this guy's coming out. This is probably my longest flyer. This is a really domey Star Destroyer, 171 grams, and it's got a really high dome on it. I'm not sure if you can see that, but tons of glide. Probably one of my flippiest for backhand, and a disc I'll throw if I don't have too much headwind or I have an opportunity to really try to push for as much as I can get. And then these two are the forehand guys. They're pretty similar, honestly. Pretty old swirly destroyers. These are like 2015 release, I think, and they just last a long time. So I have these ones, and I mostly use these for forehand. A little bit of Annie is fine. They're overstable enough for that, but generally a nice flat shot. These are getting the bulk of the forehand work if it's a long shot and there's not a ton of wind, where I would maybe go to the X-Cal for a little bit more stability than these two offer. So the Destroyer, obviously one of the most popular discs of all time. You've probably tried one, or you have friends who've tried them. Really pretty overstable. Again, like for a beginner, this is going to be a quick disc out of the hand with pretty instant fade to the left or the right, depending on which spin you're using, which hand you're throwing with, or if it's forehand or backhand. You can count on a big skip. You can count on really quick flight, nice glide. And as you build up power, or you beat one up, or maybe you get one in a lightweight, you're going to find it being one of the longest discs you could possibly have in your bag.